heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check. I got the message on me, ain't no flexing on me, my attorney gon' call and collect. Blessings on blessings for me, my successes only made them envious, they got upset. I had to put all their egos in check. I want the money, the pride, respect, and I heard you know so-and-so, you not a threat, cause I really know so-and-so, they like my family, so they go pretend that they cool till they bust at your motherfucking chest. I'm getting gutter, my flow been like butter, my check in the bank, they see the number. All of my haters feel one of two ways, really upset or they show some respect. I can't even think about it, I've been up, so read about it, no beat around it, straight to it, no ring around it. You coming for me, we'll see about it, we'll never see it when I kick my feet up. 100 meters where I run the fee up, and go ka-ching and onomatopoeia.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers, and welcome to UFC Vegas 47 Best Bet. Looking forward to some fights today, hopefully some violence early on. We'll talk about some spots. I'm here, as always, with Wheezy, Eric, and Narco. We'll start with you, Wheezy. Wheezy, you looking forward to today?
I'm definitely looking forward to it, man. Coming off the week off, I'm ready for some fights, man. A lot of spots sticking out on this card for me. I'm not heavily invested in it, but I've picked out the spots that I like. I'm excited about them. And I'm excited about a lot of these fights, whether I'm invested in them or not. Like that Harris-Rachmanov fight, I've been waiting for this one for like a month. So I'm fired up for the card, fired up to talk some bets with you guys. Can't wait to get into it.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm with you there. I cannot wait for the Harris-Rachmanov fight. Eric, you looking forward to the card?
Yeah, man, I'm feeling good. I'm excited for today. We might be, a little bit low on name value, but I think there's some matchups that could be really fun stylistically. And a lot of dogs that could be barking today. So if we pick the right ones, we could be looking at some nice tickets.
Yep, me and Weezy were talking on Stat Diggers on Sunday. Like, you can make a case for pretty much every single dog in this card. And we have Narco as well. Narco, you looking forward to this one today?
Of course, man. It's fights and cashing tickets today. That's all we're going to talk about.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Do you want to shout out the chat before we get started? If you guys can please leave a like on the video. Also subscribe to the channel. It's much, much appreciated. And go check out these guys on their respective channels as well. Daz, first one in the chat saying best of luck, everyone. We have Mac in the chat as well. Dope Space Cowboy MT. We have Thomas wanting some violence. We have Monk, the man, in the chat. We have Baldy. We have Gus in the chat. MT. We have Agent with the Dono saying schedule has been nuts. Hoping we ravage the bookies. That is the goal. It appears I am the solo Jack or Manson better. Yeah, not a ton of people on Jack. We'll definitely talk about that one. Bimmer Dude, Mitch. We have Carlos in the chat as well. Davey Boy. Appreciate y'all hanging out. We have Dustin in the chat. What is up, Dustin? Tyler, all you guys, thank you so much for hanging out. 1 hour prior to the prelims. I say we get right into it. We have 13 fights to talk about. We'll start with the very first one. Malcolm Gordon going against Denise Bandar. I'm really looking forward to this fight. We'll start with you, Eric. What are you liking for the very first fight of the night?
I don't have a bet on this fight. Obviously Bandar is hugely favored here. Malcolm Gordon is such a weird fighter to watch, such a difficult fighter to get a read on. I feel like he's always changing his mind about what he's trying to do in there. So I don't necessarily like him as an underdog here, but I don't really like that line on Bandar either. I saw fight doesn't go the distance. I like that, but it's at -210, so not a great number. But last I looked, Dennis Bandar inside the distance was at -145. I think if I was going to bet it, I'd probably look there.
Yeah, and it looks like Bandar inside the distance is -106 on Bet Rivers. That's a pretty good line there. If you do have access to Bet Rivers, which I do, but I am already on the fight doesn't go decision and pretty heavy. I did bet 2 units on it at -180, and then I saw FanDuel had it like -164, so I added a unit on that. It's now -205 on FanDuel, but I do see the under 2.5 rounds at -150. I think I'd take that. The only concern for me and why I did not go even heavier than 3 units was because at the end of the day, this is a flyweight fight, but Denise Bandar, 100% finish rate. Malcolm Gordon, pound for pound, the chinniest fight I've ever seen. Malcolm Gordon's been finished in all of his losses as well. And I wouldn't be shocked if Gordon, potentially finished Bandar at some point as well. But I think the most likely scenario is Bandar getting Gordon out there and probably within the first round. So I like the under 2.5. It is sitting at -150. Narco, how about you? What are you liking for the very first fight of the night?
Yeah, I mean, a little similar to you guys. I like actually fight doesn't start round 3. -116. I think you can get that on FanDuel. Pretty much for the similar reasons. Like Gordon, very chinny. Bandar, the only thing with Bandar, honestly, is you can't lay this number with this guy because he's really faced a very, very low level of opposition. And the 2 guys that he kind of faced that were, I would say, mediocre, he lost to. So even though Malcolm Gordon's very chinny and everything, and Bandar's very, very aggressive early, he's going to actually give Gordon some chances to submit him also, to be honest, on the ground. So I do also have a poke of Gordon round 1 submission at plus 2,000.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Gore, I believe, is a black belt. Wheezy, how about you? What are you liking for this first fight of the night?
I don't have a bet on this fight, but Bootsy's barking in the back,
sure.
man.
Oof.
I don't know. That could be bad news for the Dennis Bandar bettors, but my best bet for this fight is Bandar inside the distance at minus 135. So, it's just that Bandar has 14 professional wins. 100% of them are inside the distance. Gordon has 5 losses. 100% of them are inside the distance. So it feels like I agree 100% with Narco Cop. You can't lay this kind of number on a UFC debutant in the money line at minus 300 or worse. But what you can do is take him by his best win condition, which gives shaves a nice amount of implied probability off the line. You get it reduced from minus 300 to minus 135, and that's the way I would bet it. But I don't have a bet on the fight.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, minus 300 for Bonder. I mean, he looks like the real deal, but the level of competition is kind of what put me off of his money line. MT, I noticed the same thing. This was one of the more vicious stare downs yesterday. So hopefully violence does happen in this very first fight of the night, or I will be getting my ass shaved on this card. Next fight, we have Jason Witt going against Philip Rowe. This seems to be, one of those fights where we have a lot of people on the Rose side, a lot of people on the Witt side. So I'm very curious to see where you guys are at. Narco, we'll start with you. What bet are you liking for this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I like Witt here. I'm going to take the guy with the better grappling, the better wrestling against a guy in Phil Rowe who doesn't defend takedowns well. I know, everybody's talking about the 10-inch reach, how Jason Witt is chinny, and all of that is true. But Philip Rowe doesn't really use his reach well. Having that 10-inch reach, I would expect him to throw out the jab a lot more, keep his space, keep guys that are much shorter like Jason Witt from getting to his hips. But we saw that with Koski where he could get to the hips and take him down. And I honestly think Jason Witt is a better grappler than Koski is. So with that being said, I also do want to say that, I know Jason Witt's chin sucks, but so does Philip Rowe's. Philip Rowe doesn't have a great chin himself. So, for me, I'm just going to take the grappler here that has more of the path to victory. And to me, is going to be more of the minute winner. If you're going to take Rowe, I would probably suggest to take him by KO, because if this thing goes the distance, that means it's probably on the ground more and Rose surviving on the ground as opposed to Jason Witt surviving on the feet. So, yeah, I'm just going to take a shot with Witt here at plus 120.
It makes sense to me. Eric, how about you? What do you like in here?
I actually echo a ton of what Narco Cop said. I do actually have a small bet on Witt here as well, based on a lot of those same reads. But I think the bet that I like the most here is the over 1.5. Last I looked, it was at minus 145. So I do have a small bet on Witt, and I do have a small bet on that over 1.5 as well. Looks like, still minus 145. That's what I got it at as well. And I think, there's the read that Rowe could land early and finish Witt here. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the fight could get grindy and we could end up on the ground. And I think over 1.5 looks good.
Yeah, I actually don't hate that at all. I'm actually going to go the other way in terms of a pick, and I totally get the Rao or the Witt, money line there, because he's going to be the minute winner. I see him winning minutes. It's just I think it's going to take one big moment from Rowe, and he's going to have 15 minutes to do it. I think Rowe's going to knock him out at some point in this fight. Narco talked about the KO prop, which is plus 195 for Rowe. I think that's his path to victory. I would be shocked if Phil Rowe won a decision here. So I'm going to take either the KO prop plus 195 or even the inside the distance sitting at plus 110, plus 120. I don't hate that as well. Wheezy, what side are you on here?
I'm also on the Rose side here at plus 110 inside the distance. It's another situation where we got a fighter in Rowe with 100% finish rate in all his wins, and his opponent Witt 100% finish rate in 7 losses. So a really big sample size on both sides in terms of finish rates here, for and against. So it's just getting a little bit off that number in order to get a little bit more juice here on the Rowe side. Rowe just fought Kosi, and I think that this fight's going to look very much the same. But what you'll notice in the Kosi-Rowe fight was that fight was only on the feet for about 90 seconds. And that's all it took for Phil Rowe to finish the fight. And Kosi's a lot tougher than Witt is. So I just see Witt having success early, getting to the hips, wrestling, piling up a bunch of control time. But I don't think he's going to be able to hold him down for the full 15. And I think it might only take about 100 seconds on the feet for Phil to finish Jason Witt with those Bs. So, yeah, I'm picking Rowe inside the distance at plus 110.
There you go. Yeah, Bootsy disagreeing with you, but we'll see who's right. You or Bootsy there. We'll move on to the next fight, and another fight that people are really back and forth on. We have Jailton Almeida going against Danilo Marques. We'll start with you, Wheezy. What are you liking for this fight here?
Yeah, man, this is my ass shaving of the week here. I got Jailton by murder in this one. And I think the best bet that I would do on this one is if you have access to FanDuel Sportsbook and you can see this bet, it's Jailton Almeida round 1 or 2 minus 125. Jailton has won every single one of his fights inside the distance, and he's never been to a third round in a win. So, this is a situation where you're getting like Almeida on the money line is minus 420 to minus 480, depending on where you're betting it. And you could get Jailton by his only win condition in a big sample size here and get it reduced from minus 450-ish to minus 125 on FanDuel Sportsbook for Jailton to win in rounds 1 or 2. I think he's going to finish this guy, and he'll definitely finish him inside of 2 rounds. So I love that bet.
Yeah, that bet is very good. You're turning a huge favorite into minus 125. I'm kind of the same way. I took the under 1.5 rounds, minus 112. I know the over is a very popular play, but we have like a minus 400 favorite in Jailton Almeida, who is really likely to win this fight. It went inside the distance, and you take a look at Almeida, a 100% finish rate, and he's never actually won a fight that went over 1.5 rounds. He's won all of his wins have came under 1.5 rounds. So I think I'm with you, Easy. I think he comes out here. I think he shaves Marquez's ass, and probably early as well. So give me the under 1.5. But yeah, your bet, I think, is a really, really good look, because I don't know if I see Marquez finishing Almeida in this fight, at least early on. Narco, how about you? What are you liking for this one?
Yeah, I do like the Almeida side. I think he wins here. I just think, most of his wins come by submission. And if that's the path he chooses here against Marquez, I think Marquez is going to be able to survive for a lot of those minutes on the ground. So I'm going to go with Almeida Marquez over 1.5 at minus 112, just for those reasons. Like, I do think Almeida is the better grappler here. Marquez, I believe, is a brown belt, and Almeida is a very high level BJJ black belt. But he does tend to make some mistakes on the ground. Like I saw it in his Dana White Contender Series fight. So I just think, if this gets to the ground, and that's usually what Almeida does, I think Marquez can survive those minutes. But I think, honestly, the easiest path for Almeida here is just to strike. And if that's the case, then I'll be sweaty with my over 1.5.
Yeah, I guess there was an interview that came out saying that Almeida is going to keep this on the feet and try to knock out Marquez. So we'll see what happens. I think he's personally going to wrestle and try to take him down. Eric, how about you? What do you like for this fight?
I actually took a small shot on Marquez here. After doing the tape, I did favor Almeida to win, but when I pulled it up and saw that line, I got Marquez. I put half a unit on him at plus 325. Like I said, it's a value play. I do favor Almeida to win, but I thought plus 325 was kind of ridiculous. And that was one of those spots where, the card before, there was a couple different underdogs where I said, there's value here, I'm not doing it. And they both won. And so this time I was like, you know what? I see the value. I'm going to go ahead and just take a shot on it. Like I see, it's two guys that are not very good strikers. Both have pretty good ground games. I do think Almeida's the stronger, younger, more athletic guy, but with a fight that could play out largely in the grappling. And I just thought Marquez was worth a shot there.
Okay, can't argue that. I'll tell you one thing. I'm not betting Almeida at minus 415. So good luck on your bet there. Taking the value shot. Don't hate some value shots. And move on to the next fight. Alexis Davis, Julio Stolyarenko. We will start with you, Narco. Anything sticking out to you on this one?
Yeah, I have a bet on Davis by decision at plus 100. I think it's still out there on FanDuel. I just like Davis here, like better striker, better grappler. I don't see how Stolyarenko wins outside like a armbar, I guess. But again, I think Davis is actually the better grappler here. So, plus 100, you're turning that, and she's a minus 240, whatever, 250 favorite. And Davis, is not much of a finisher. And I will say Storyolenko is tough because you go watch that Yana fight. Like, she got absolutely murdered in that fight and, didn't quit. So, yeah, plus 100 there with Davis. I think that's their path of victory decision. And if you're feeling frisky, I don't know what unanimous is, but it's probably not much more.
Yep, I'm gonna agree with you. Davis plus 100 on that is on FanDuel and looks to be the best price out by a good margin. They're minus 115 on BetOnline, minus 135 on DraftKings. I'm not betting this fight, but if I was to, Davis by decision plus 100 doesn't look awful to me. Wheezy, how about you? You like anything for this fight?
Yeah, early in the week, Brady messaged me on Discord saying, I think you're going to have to call the orderlies on me. I'm thinking of betting Alexis Davis here. And I just shaved his ass. I'm like, no, you're not. Not at that fucking line. You were absolutely not. You're not. I'm going to call the orderlies. And now I want to bet Davis by decision at plus 100 on FanDuel. And Brady's like, dude, don't you prick, So, but I like it. She's way better here. And she's not much of a finisher, and Stolyarenko's tough. We know that she's difficult to finish in her own right. So I could see this being an easy Alexis Davis 3-round decision here. She's better standing, and she's better on the ground, frankly. So yeah, that's the bet. And I'm gonna have to hold myself back not to make that bet.
All right, Eric. Do you think Wheezy should make that bet, or are you liking something else?
I do like that. I had looked at that Davis by decision line as well. I didn't end up playing that. I ended up using Davis as a parlay piece here. I feel pretty comfortable with her winning. I didn't like the idea of betting that minus 210 or whatever straight up, but I think the only shot Stolyarenko's got here is if she happens to find that armbar from guard, which I think was at like plus 675 Stolyarenko by submission. And I've seen some people taking a shot on that. I personally wouldn't do it, but she's got something like 9 or 10 wins by armbar. So if you're one of those bettors who likes to just kind of throw a bet out there to have some fun, that might be a fun sprinkle. But yeah, I think Davis wins pretty comfortably here and probably a decision.
Looks like we're all on the same page there. Yeah, Stolyarenko, I feel like her path to victory is that armbar, and it is plus 850 on FanDuel. So, yeah, that's her path to victory, but I do not want to bet this fight personally. Move on to the next one. We have Marc-Andre Barrio going against Chidi Njokuani. We will start with you, Eric. What are you liking for this fight here?
I did actually. I put a bet on Barrio here. He was I think minus 130 is where I initially got him. And then I looked today and he was at even money. And I was like, should I double down on it? And I did. I put another unit on him. My read here is essentially that Barrio is really good at the exact things that Chidi tends to fall victim to. He can be held up against the cage. He can be controlled on the ground. Chidi needs to be given a lot of space to work. And Barrio is one of those guys who's going to move forward on you. He's going to pressure you up against the cage. So I like Barrio to get a decision here. And last I looked, Barrio by decision was plus 180. So that's probably not a bad spot either. But I ended up just taking his money line.
There you go. Yeah. So I saw this prop a couple nights ago that stuck out to me. It was the finish only for Marc-Andre Barrio. It was sitting at minus 110. And then Weezy hits me up the next day and he says that it moved to plus 100. I'm like, that doesn't make much sense. And the reason why I like that so much, because the finish only, that means that it's like the scorecards equals no action. So if the fight goes the distance, then the bet is voided. If Marc-Andre Barrio wins inside the distance, the bet cashes. And if Chidi Njokuani wins inside the distance, the bet loses. And the reason I like that is because you take a look at Chidi. This guy's been finished in 6 of his 7 losses. I questioned his toughness. I questioned his cardio. And that's never something you have to question against for Marc-Andre Barrio, who in 17 fights, he's never been finished. This guy is very, very tough. This guy has very, very good cardio. So I think this most likely goes to decision, but I think if there is a finish, plus 100 for Marc-Andre Barrio, I don't think that's horrible. Weezy, what do you like for this fight here?
Yeah, same exact bet. I love that bet. And the reason I made it is, when you look at these finish only bets, you kind of look at, all right, what are the finish rates of the two fighters? In Njokuani's case, 13 out of 20, he finished inside the distance, 65% finish rate. Barrio right there with him with a 69% finish rate. But then you look at the losses. Marc-Andre Barrio's never been finished in 4 professional losses. But Chidi Njokuani's been finished inside the distance 6 out of 7 of his losses. So who's more likely to win this fight inside the distance? There's one guy who's shown a ton of durability and another guy who frankly hasn't. So to get Barrio at like a coin flip on the probability of which one of these guys is going to finish the fight, to me, is just a huge edge. And I love that bet. -110 available on DraftKings right now. The Marc-Andre Barrio finish only, or scorecards equals no action.
Yeah, and I think I saw it on BetOnline like -105 as well. So yeah, I like that. I wasn't going to bet that fight, but that prop really stuck out. Narco, how about you? What are you liking for this fight here?
I'm going to go a little crazier and say Marc-Andre Barrio round 3 plus 1,600. I already bet it at 1,800. You mentioned everything you need to know about playing this round 3, like better cardio. Njokuani's a quitter. I don't want to call him a quitter, but that's what he's shown me on tape. Like, there's a couple of times where he just turtles up and doesn't do anything and wants out of there. And against a guy like Barrio, who's going to be in your face for 3 rounds, and he's not going to let the gas down, off the pedal. Like, it's just one of those bets where Barrio against certain guys that have questionable cardio, to me, is like a must bet round 3 guy. And recently he's cashed one, and he almost cashed another one last time against Dalcha. So round 3 here for me is the side, but I also do like Barrio at -105 now. Like, even, I don't understand this line movement, but I like Marc-Andre here.
Round 3. Yeah, I like it. That's definitely a good look. I can definitely see that happening. We'll see if it does. Moving on, we have Hakeem Dawodu going against Mike Trizano. We will start with you, Weezy. You liking anything for this fight here?
Yeah, I don't have a bet on this fight, and we look at these guys are just so involved in close fights, both of them. Dawodu's last 4 wins: split decision over Tukugov, split decision over Arce, knockout over Yoshinori Hori, and then a split decision over Bokniak. So, really greasy fights. And, we've seen that the last 4 fights for Trizano, his 3 wins, 2 split decisions and a unanimous decision. So this fight probably goes to decision. If you can pick the right side, whether it's Dawodu or Trizano, you'll get some value there on this line. I'm going to say I was looking at Mike Trizano by decision at +330 all week on DraftKings. I didn't pull the trigger. Now it's at +300. That would probably be the way I'd go here at +300. You could throw a quarter unit on it. Get Trizano by his most likely win condition here. And Dawodu's kind of low volume, and he kind of stares at his opponents. There's a reason he's been in so many close fights. So fight going to decision, and I like Trizano by decision at +300.
Yeah, this is one I'm staying far away from. I think it's going to go to decision. I think it's going to be a very close fight. I'm personally on the Dawodu side, so I'm going to take Dawodu by decision +120. But I think it's on DraftKings where they have you can pick the winner by split decision. And I think earlier in the week it was like something crazy for Trizano, like +1,000, something like that. I don't know if it's still there. And then Dawodu is like +400, +500 by split. I'd probably be looking at those because I think there's a really good chance it is a split decision. It is a close fight. Who knows what the judges are looking at these days? I want to stay far away from this one, but if I had to pick something, it'd be one of those split decision props or Dawodu decision +120. Eric, how about you? What are you liking for this fight?
I do lean Dawodu to win here, and I did use him as a parlay piece. But to sort of jump on something you said there, Brady, I like the idea. I don't have a book that offers this, but I don't mind the idea of putting a little something on each guy to win by split decision, because I think there's a really good chance that it does go to decision, and I think there's a really good chance that it's a close fight. Take that, what you said, it was maybe a +1,000 on one side, +500 on the other side. Put a little sprinkle on each of those and sit back and let it happen.
Hey, it wouldn't shock me if either of those hit, and that'd be a pretty good hit as well. Narco, how about you? You like anything for this fight here?
Yeah, I like Mike Trizano here. I just think, if he can start using his wrestling a little. I know he hasn't shown it, but he has decent wrestling. He has good BJJ. Dawodu, low volume. I'm just not, is Dawodu the better striker here? Yes. But again, the guy's very low volume, and I just think Trizano is more of a minute winner than Dawodu is. And I'm getting, a +150, +160 price tag. So yeah, give me Trizano here.
Shout out to Philly Dilly, and I really like that name. A Trizano +1,200 to win by split or majority decision on DraftKings right now. That's intriguing. I could see it happening. We'll move on to the next fight, though. That's a very close fight. Can't wait to see what happens there. Miles Johns, John Castaneda. It looks like Castaneda is a very popular dog this week. I remember earlier in the week, he was like plus 205. Now on some books, he's like plus 148, plus 150. I'm going to keep this one simple. I'm going to say fight goes to decision minus 160. I know Miles Johns has knocked out 2 bums in a row, but John Castaneda, he's very tough, very durable, only been knocked out once. I don't see Miles Johns finishing Castaneda, and I don't really see Castaneda finishing Johns. I think this fight will be close. I do see why the line's coming in a little bit. But yeah, give me the fight goes to decision minus 160. I don't hate that. Narco, how about you? What are you looking for this fight here?
Castaneda by split decision plus 1100. Another fight where it's going to be close. Like, John circles that cage a lot, doesn't really like getting pressured. From what I saw in Castaneda's fight, like, he likes to pressure a lot, except for his last fight against Wineland, which was very awkward to me. Like, he was on the back foot a lot, and the minute he bum rushed Wineland, he knocked him out. So, it's a smaller cage. Miles Johns tends to skirt that cage a lot. He does have some good striking, has some power in his hands, but like you mentioned, Castaneda is very durable. I think Miles Johns is durable himself, but his gas tank is kind of a question mark. So I think it's going to be close rounds here. I see it going to split decision, but I like the Castaneda side. So I'm going to go Castaneda split decision. I think it's plus 1100 on DraftKings.
I think someone's in my house. Either it's a ghost or somebody's breaking in. Wheezy, how about you? I'll go check on that. Wheezy, how about you?
I didn't call the orderlies, dude, so it wasn't me this time, man.
All right, I'll go check it out. Go ahead, Wheezy.
I just want to point out right now, you guys, that I'm seeing something on best fight odds that right now John Castaneda is plus 200 on BetMGM, and you can get Miles Johns at minus 167 on 5 dimes. That's free money right there if you want to do an arbitrage. That probably won't last for long. The bet that I'm going to be making in this fight is Miles Johns by decision, plus 135 on FanDuel. John's like minus 170 right now everywhere, and you can get him by his best win condition here. Get that line moved down to plus 135. Get a nice chunk of implied probability there in your line, because John Castaneda has had 5 losses. He's only been finished once, and that was by Matt Brown back in like 2014. A long time ago. This guy doesn't get finished. So if you're on that John side, you think you can win this fight, get that decision prop at plus 135. There's some nice meat on that bone.
There you go. It was a ghost, by the way. So John's by decision for Wheezy. And then I think Eric, right?
Yeah, I don't have much to add here. This was actually, as I was going through this morning and figuring out the best bet I was going to talk about for each one, this is the one where I kind of had the hardest time figuring it out. I know a lot of people were on Castaneda when he was up closer to like plus 200. And that one made sense to me, but that is kind of, he's closer to like plus 150, I think now. And I don't like a shot on him so much there, but I do agree with the rest of y'all that I think this fight probably goes to decision. So if you like a side, if you feel good about one guy winning, I would probably look at betting the guy that you're picking by decision.
Yep, I can agree with that one as well. We will keep moving on to the next fight on the card. If you guys can all please smash the like button, that'd be much, much appreciated. We're about to start the main card. We have Julian, Rosa, Steven Peterson. Peterson was the only fighter, I believe, to miss weight. I think he weighed in at about like 149, and it looked like he didn't even try. So maybe trying to gain a little bit of an advantage here against Julian Rosa. And it looked at the weigh-ins that he was still much smaller than Rosa as well. So we'll see how that works out for him. We'll start with you, Narco Cop. What do you think about this fight here?
I mean, honestly, you cannot lay this type of price with Julian Rosa. The guy's too erratic. The guy's too wild. It's been mentioned a lot before. Like, Rosa's the type of guy that you want to bet when he's plus money, not when he's a huge favorite like this. And the other thing is, I honestly don't understand Peterson by KO at plus 1,000. For as chinny as Rosa is, and as erratic as Rosa is, getting countered, he's there to get countered all the time. The guy's been dropped 7 times out of his 10 fights. So it doesn't really take a big hitter to put this guy down or out. So, just the fact that he fights erratically, and a guy like Peterson, who's kind of aggressive, that's going to throw hard. He's not the biggest puncher, but again, you don't need to be the biggest puncher against Rosa. So, plus 1,000 to me is like completely off. So I'm going to take a stab at Peterson by KO.
Yeah, I mean that's nuts. Rosa, terrible striking defense, terrible chin. He's been knocked out, just as many times as Jason Witt, 5 times, and he's been knocked out more than Malcolm Gordon. So yeah, it's definitely live. Plus 1,000 is kind of nuts. I will be going the other way. I really like the toughness, the durability of Peterson. I think that Rosa is the better fighter here. And I hate the money line, as most people probably should. But what I did like is the Rosa to win by decision, sitting at plus 145, plus 165. I think he does win the fight more often than not, but I just don't see him finishing Peterson. I know Rosa has been a very good finisher, but again, Peterson's very tough, good on the mat. I think Rosa cruises to a decision. But yeah, plus 1,000, that definitely does stick out to me as well. Weezy, you like anything for this fight here?
Yeah, right there with you. Rosa by decision. Peterson's only been finished once in his career, and that's in 9 losses, you guys. So he's obviously very durable. So yeah, I think Rosa's the better fighter here, kind of like everywhere, and he's faced the better competition, in my opinion, as well. So I just like Rosa here, but you'd be crazy to lay minus 300 on this guy. I mean, there's several reasons not to, but when you can get minus 300 pushed down to plus 165, and the opponent of the guy who's supposed to win has only lost inside the distance once in 9 losses, I think that's a huge amount of value if you're on the Rosa side here. So that bet makes a lot of sense to me.
Sounds good. And then Eric, how about you? What do you like for this one?
I see somebody asking in the chat there if Rosa is a good parlay piece. My answer to that is probably not. But my answer to did I parlay him anyway is yes. So I did use Rosa in a parlay. I don't like the number on him, of course, but I do almost agree with it. I mean, I do favor him to win pretty heavily here. But one thing I hadn't thought about was that prop that Narco mentioned of Peterson by KO at plus 1,000 or whatever. I jotted that one down. I might take a sprinkle on that for all the reasons we already mentioned. Rosa's chinny. He's kind of wild. He doesn't really look to defend himself too much. So yeah, that could make the fight interesting anyway.
There you go. Yeah, I like that. You parlayed a row. I mean, yeah, I think he wins. It's just the chin definitely concerns me there. We'll move on to the next fight here. We have Brian Battle going against Trey Gore, and this one's an interesting one. I did take a small stab on Brian Battle at plus 136. The money line has closed a little bit since then. If I was to place a bet at this point, it probably still would be that Battle money line. I mean, I thought I'd be betting Gore going into it. I remember watching The Ultimate Fighter, thinking, being really high on Gore, the Urbina fight where he knocked him down like 8 times, it seemed like. And then after really looking into it, I see that Battle has fought the better competition. He has more than double fights than Gore. He's been more active. Gore's coming off of an injury. Gore is the better striker. He's more athletic, but he's very, very low volume. And my thinking is if he does not knock out Battle, I think Battle is very live to take over as the fight goes on, just be more active and probably win a decision, maybe get a late finish. So I don't love it. At the end of the day, these guys have 10 professional fights combined. That's why I only went a half unit on Battle, very small. I don't want to be too invested, but at plus 136, I did take the shot, and my best bet probably would still be Battle at plus 120. Narco, what are you liking for this fight here?
Yeah, I like the fight goes to decision at plus money, plus 128. I just think that, the finishing upside is more on the Gore side, but Brian Battle is very durable. Historically, he's been very durable. He's gotten hurt before, and that first fight in the UFC against Urbina did not look good at all. But, I mean, it was still impressive the way he survived, after getting rocked really bad. He still survived and then ended up finishing. I just don't think he has a high probability of finishing Gore just because I think Gore is durable. I think he has good takedown defense. He's the quicker guy. So in that sense, I don't think he's going to finish him. So I do like the Battle side, similar to you, but I'd rather just go with fight goes to decision at plus 128.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Eric, what do you think about this one?
I do like Battle as an underdog here. With the tape I was able to find on Gore, I didn't find a whole lot, and I don't feel like I got a super strong read on him. But I think Battle's super tough. I think he's pretty well rounded. I think he's one of those guys who's really confident and just has kind of good optics as far as the way he handles himself in the cage. And I didn't bet Battle's money line, although I don't mind a bet on that. But actually, just this morning, I ended up putting a little sprinkle on Brian Battle in round 3 at plus 1100, just kind of based on the read that, if Gore does start to slow down and Battles, starts to take over and put it on him late in the fight, maybe we could see a finish there.
Yep, I could see it. I could see it going to decision. I could see a late finish for Battle potentially. Wheezy, what do you think about this fight here?
Yeah, my best bet would be Gore. I had him at minus 135 before the show started, but that's already, it looks like some money coming in on him. He's minus 140 right now on Bet Online and DraftKings. The thing about Gore is I think he improved when he was in the house, and a lot of people are looking at the footage that was pre-house. And yeah, I mean, he's green, but so is Battle. And I just think Gore's striking is going to be a lot better. I hated what I saw from Battle in the Urbina fight. So yeah, I'm picking Gore here, but I don't have a bet on this fight. Both of these guys are pretty new to the UFC here. We don't have a lot of footage on either one of them. And I think it might be good to just stay away from this one. But if I had to bet it, I would bet Gore.
Yeah, staying away probably is the best thing to do on a fight like this. Not enough information. We'll move on, though, to the next fight. We have the people's main event, the fight that everybody keeps talking about. Sam Alvey, Brendan Allen. We'll start with you, Eric. Are you liking anything for this fight here?
Oh, I was afraid you were going to start with me here.
Oh, no.
Am I liking anything for this fight? No, I really don't know what to say about this one. I know a few folks out there are thinking, you know what, let's put a little something on Sam Alvey by KO. I mean, I don't think you can mess with, what is Brendan Allen's money line at? Last I looked, it was like minus 440 or something like that. I don't think you want to go anywhere near that. But I don't think you want to go anywhere near Alvey either. Some people are still sold on the idea that Alvey's got that howitzer in his left hand and he can land that and finish. I just don't buy into that narrative too much anymore. It's been so long since we've seen that I'm like, I know what Sam Alvey's going to do, and I don't think he's going to land that big shot and knock out Brendan Allen. I know I can't pass. I guess if I had to do something here, I'd use Allen as a parlay piece because I mean, the number's kind of crazy. You're not adding much value to your parlay there, but I do think Allen should win pretty comfortably here.
Yeah, I think he should win as well. Dev's saying layup for Allen. With his fight IQ, I don't really think any fight's a layup for him. But yeah, I think Allen does win more often than not. I mean, to beat Sam Alvey, you really don't have to do much. I don't think Alvey's able to win a decision against anybody at this point. He's so low volume, he backs up to the back of the cage. I think the only path to victory would be that Sam Alvey knockout. You take a look at Brendan Allen. He showed up at weigh-ins. He did not look in fight-ready shape at all. I don't know what you guys saw. And on top of that, he just got knocked out like, a month and a half ago? That's concerning. And on top of that, he has a horrible haircut. So I think Alvey by KO, it's now plus 700. I did take a really small shot because it probably does lose. A quarter unit, Sam Alvey KO plus 700. Allen, a 42% striking defense. He's going to go out there and fight the complete opposite game plan you want him to. So I think Alvey's going to have chances. I think Allen should cruise here to a decision, but Alvey's only path to victory, in my opinion, is that KO. So I took a small stab on that. Wheezy, what do you think about this fight here?
Yeah, I think you can never trust either one of these guys with your money. I mean, plain and simple. You shouldn't be betting this fight. It's short notice. Sam Alvey can't win a decision to save his life because the optics of the way he fights is pathetic. And then Brendan Allen, I mean, he makes more bad decisions than I made in college. And I mean, for those of you who didn't know me in college, that is saying a lot. So neither one of these guys trustworthy at all. But there is a line that's really stupid on this fight, in my opinion. Brendan Allen by decision is plus 195. And he's like minus 400 on the money line. Alvey is notoriously low volume. He kind of baits his opponents into staring contests. And he's notoriously hard to take down. I don't see this fight finishing. So I think Brendan Allen by decision at plus 195 is a good way to get a lot of extra value on a guy who should win this fight over Sam Alvey. And, and if it does go to decision, you got to believe that Brendan's going to get the win here because Sam just doesn't win decisions, period.
If Sam Alvey wins a decision today, I will dye my hair Phil Hawes blonde. I'm that confident it won't happen. But yeah, Allen by decision. If I was to bet Allen, I'd take that. I don't see him finishing Alvey there. Narco, how about you? What do you like for this fight?
Yeah, I mean, that Sam Alvey howitzer that Eric is talking about has turned into a water gun lately. So It's not a howitzer anymore. He's too slow. The guy is 50 fights into his career. He's 35 years old. Like, there's nothing going his way in this fight, honestly. Actually, there is one thing. It's at 205, and it's a late, and Allen is a late minute replacement. So other than that, honestly, this is Allen's fight to win. I would take, if this was 85, I would take Allen by KO here because I think he can knock out Alvey, because Alvey's chin, if you looked at it historically, has been really good. But if you look at it the last couple of years, it's been pretty bad. I mean, he's been getting hurt very often in almost every single fight. He's been knocked out a couple of times. His chin is diminishing with his age. So for me, yeah, I'm going to go with what Weezy said, and Allen by decision is probably the most likely path. And getting plus 195, I think is not a bad look for a guy that's minus 450, 435.
Definitely I do agree with that. I think if Allen does win, good chances by decision. That line does stick out. We will keep moving on. A couple fights left, and this is probably my favorite fight of the night, and a lot of people's favorite fight of the night. Shavkat Rakhmonov going against Carlston Harris. We will start with you, Weezy. What are you liking on this fight here?
So I have two small bets on this fight. I got a half unit stab on Carlston Harris's money line at plus 205. And I also have an even smaller quarter unit stab on Carlston Harris by decision at plus 700. That was available on DraftKings earlier in the week, but you can get him at plus 650 right now on DraftKings. And here's the reasoning behind this bet. When you watch Shavkat's career, he's fantastic everywhere. The striking, the grappling, the submissions, the toughness. He can come back from getting rocked too. The one thing that I think he's not absolutely fantastic at is winning every minute of the fight. I think he gives away minutes quite a bit. And if we look at Rakhmonov's career in 14 wins, all 14 wins are inside the distance. But Carlston Harris has 17 wins. And I think about 10 of them have come, or maybe, it's 10 of them. Yeah, 5 by submission, 5 by knockout, but 7 by decisions. So there's 7 decision wins between these two guys, and they're all on the Harris side. And if you watch Harris's pre-UFC tape, he's a pretty good minute winner. So I kind of feel like if Carlston does win this fight, you can put a really small amount of money at plus 650 to win by decision, and just, know that he has a chance to win minutes here. And if this thing does go to the scorecards, it could be close and you could cash a big bet.
Sounds good to me. Yeah. I saw a prop that stuck out, and it was Harris by knockout, and it was sitting at, I want to say like plus 900 if I can. Yeah, there it is, plus 900 on FanDuel. He has a very good submission game, but he's shown a ton of power thus far in the UFC. He hurt Christian Aguilera very bad. He forced Aguilera to shoot in on him, and then obviously knocked out Ip in his last fight. That plus 900, I mean, this guy has a ton of power. His striking is very awkward. It may not look like he's landing hard, but he really is. And we have seen Shavkat Rakhmonov hurt before, so that number kind of jumped off the page to me a little bit. Harris by KO, plus 900. Narco, what are you liking for this fight here?
You stole it from me.
Oh, crap.
And I didn't hear anybody talk about this knockout prop. But you did now, and I really like this prop, honestly. You go back and look at Rakhmonov against Odelev 3 years ago. He was literally knocked out in that fight in the second round. And guess what it was from? A wild overhand right, which Harris throws a lot of. So, it's like, honestly, I just looked at that fight and I'm like, I went back and looked at the Harris KO. I'm like, 900? Okay, sign me up, because I just think like this same punch has been landed on him. He's been literally knocked out by it because he literally bounced his head off the mat and kind of woke up, and then the bell saved him. So if Harris lands it, I think he's going to be able to knock this guy out. And it's plus 900. I mean, it's just a huge price that I think, who do I think wins? I think Rakhmonov wins at a pretty high clip here, but I do think Harris can land that right hand.
Yeah, I'm personally picking Rakhmonov as well. But yeah, that plus 900 really did stick out to me. Eric, what do you like for this fight?
I'm actually going to ride the coattails of all three of my sharp and talented co-hosts here. I like the Harris money line. I like that Harris decision, and I like that Harris knockout. Same with most people. I do lean Rakhmonov to win here, but I feel like we're getting a little bit of a hype tax on that line. I feel like this fight could play out pretty closely. And I hadn't actually seen that Harris KO prop either. I was going to mention the Harris money line and the Harris decision prop, but I don't mind putting a little bit on every single one of those.
Yeah, it would not shock me. And I know it would shock some people like Dev the Dude, but it would not shock me at all if Harris pulled off the upset here. We'll keep moving on to the next fight. We have the co-main event, Punahele Soriano going against Nick Maximov. I'll kick this fight off. And yeah, I really don't like the money line for Punahele Soriano sitting around -185, -190 on DraftKings. The reason being is there's a lot of question marks that have not been answered in terms of the takedown defense. On paper, he's a state champion, high school wrestler in high school, college wrestler, judo background, all the good stuff. And that's great and all, but we've only seen him stuff like one takedown. And it was against Brendan Allen. I thought in the Allen fight, we'd see Allen shoot more takedowns. We did not see that because Allen has horrible fight IQ. But, I think Nick Maximov definitely going to test his takedown defense here. I think Soriano finishes him early. And if he doesn't, I think that's going to be a big problem. This is a fight I'm going to be looking at from a live betting standpoint. I think if Soriano does not finish him within the first round and a half, it could get very, very dicey, very, very fast. So what I did take was Soriano to win in round 1 or 2, plus 140. I don't know what that is now, but even like Soriano to win in round 1, I think he's won all of his fights outside of one in round 1. So Soriano round 1 plus 230, plus 225. Soriano round 2 plus 600. But I did take that round 1 and round 2 at plus 140. I think Soriano finishes him very early. But like I said, if not, it could get very sketchy. Narco, what are you liking for this fight here?
Soriano round 1 plus 300. I think he's going to be, defending the takedowns early, probably chuck Maximov off a couple of times. And then on the feet, man, this is like a monster mismatch. And I just see him putting this guy's lights out, honestly. I think this is Soriano all day. I like him in this spot. I have round 1. I have inside the distance. I just, there's a lot of questions about Soriano's takedown defense, but we have to consider that this guy's a state wrestling champion. I mean, you can't just be a state wrestling champion if you're not a good wrestler. So, I do think he's a good wrestler. He just hasn't been tested, like you said. And honestly, Maximov is, he's got decent jiu-jitsu, decent top game, but his wrestling is not all that. So I would just take Soriano here, and round 1 is just appealing to me at plus 300.
Yeah, for sure. Eric, what do you like over this fight?
Yeah, I have some of the same thoughts. I also think that this is potentially a good live betting spot. This is one of those fights where, it's easy to kind of pick different narratives for each side, but it's one of those where I feel like it's a little bit tough to get a read on how this dynamic is going to play out pre-flop, but I think that very shortly into the fight, it's going to all kind of come to light. So, but yeah, I definitely do lean Soriano here. The two possible bets that I highlighted were Soriano by KO, which was at plus 130 last I looked. But I do like Narco, and some of the rest of you mentioned the idea of, picking the rounds there, Soriano in round 1. I mean, I think Soriano could very easily find an early knockout here. I also don't mind the fight doesn't go the distance, which was around minus 180 last I looked, because I think, if Soriano isn't able to find that early knockout, we could definitely see him tire out and see Maximov start to take over. So yeah, I think one way or another, somebody's going to find a finish here.
Yep, I don't hate that as well. Weezy, how about you? What do you like for this co-main event here?
Yeah, I'm not betting this fight, and it's because we just don't know what Puna's MMA wrestling is going to look like yet, because nobody's tested it. And, you look at Punahele Soriano, he spent 94% of his UFC cage time at striking distance. Nick Maximov has only spent about 15% of his UFC cage time at striking distance. So I just think we're going to see a type of game plan which we don't know how Puna is going to handle in the cage. He's a great collegiate wrestler. We know that. He's a high school state champ. We know that. But, in college and high school wrestling, there's no cage and you're wearing shoes. It's a completely different game. And Maximov is going to go for these takedowns over and over and over again. In his 4 minutes out of 30 that he's spent standing, this guy has attempted 20 takedowns. I mean, that's a ridiculous amount of takedowns. That's one takedown every 20 seconds that he's standing. So Puna's going to see some wrestling pressure like we've never seen before. In that case, the stab that I would take, I'm not betting this fight, is Maximov by submission at plus 550. I think he might be able to drown him if he gets the fight to the ground and he can keep it there. But that being said, it's a big unknown for me, so I'm not touching it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely live. If he can survive early on, Maximov definitely can win this fight later. It goes. But we'll move on to the main event. Make sure you guys hit the like, subscribe to the channel. We go live 1 hour prior to the prelims, every single card. I'm here with Wheezy, Narco, and Eric, and we're going to talk about the main event. Jack Hermansson, Sean Strickland. Good fight here. Good main event. To be honest, I'm more so looking forward to Rakhmonov Harris, but I still like this fight. We'll start with you, Narco Cop. What are you liking for this main event here?
Yeah, I mean, I like Strickland by KO. I think you can get it at around 240. I also do like some Strickland round 4, round 5 props. I know Jack Hermansson has, that good body lock takedowns, Greco-Roman background. I mean, he's good in close, but, Strickland's also very good at keeping distance. So, how does Jack Hermansson close that distance to get those body locks? That's going to be the question. Is he going to be eating, a ton of punches coming in? So I just think, Hermansson probably gets a takedown or two. Is he going to be able to hold Strickland down? I don't think so. And, I just think Strickland's going to make him pay, man, for trying to come into that boxing range. And over time, over the fight course, I just think he wears him out and eventually knocks him out.
Yep, I could see it. I'm more so seeing a potential late finish for Strickland as you are. I think this fight does get extended. I like that over 3.5 rounds on FanDuel, minus 154. It opened up at minus 128. But yeah, I think this fight gets extended. I don't think Strickland is the hardest hitter, but like you said, I think the damage is going to accumulate, and I think he could potentially get him out of there in those 3rd, 4th, or 5th rounds, or even a decision as well. Because Jack Hermansson, he is very tough, but I do think Strickland's going to have a pretty good striking advantage here. So if anything, and by the way, I don't have a play on this main event. I'm going to sit back and watch this one, but that was kind of the one thing that stuck out to me. I think this one does get extended over 3.5 rounds. Eric, what do you like for this main event here?
Yeah, I've got a pretty similar read. I do like Strickland. I don't have a book that offers these kind of bets, but if you have a book that offers those Strickland 4-5 decision, something like that, I wouldn't mind a poke on something like that. I think I kind of lean Strickland to win a decision here, but I can definitely see the angle of him, kind of taking over with volume and potentially finding a finish late in the fight.
Yep, I can see it as well. And then Wheezy, what do you like for this main event here?
Yeah, I'm there with Eric on the Strickland 4-5 decision at plus 130, and Alex brought it up in the chat that right now on FanDuel you can get Sean Strickland by decision boosted from plus 195 up to plus 250. So I figured that was too good to pass up. So I also have 1 unit on Strickland by decision at plus 250. But I like that plus 130 for Sean by 4-5 or decision, because if those strikes do add up there, he could potentially get Jack out of there. But Jack's notoriously tough to finish. So, but I do like Strickland. He's really good defensively on his feet, really responsible. At 185, he's shown 70% distance striking defense. So I do like him to win the minutes here on the feet. He's pretty tough to take down, and he's faced some really good wrestlers at 170. So I like him to win this fight. And those bets on FanDuel are pretty fat, in my opinion.
There we go. Looks like we're on the same page. What did you say the 4-5 decision was for Strickland?
Oh, plus 130 on FanDuel. I mean, plus money, that's pretty good. And you get those 4th and 5th rounds added in there. I think that's a really good way to look at it.
Yeah, I definitely think that's solid as well. So yeah, that is about it. We broke down 13 fights. We have about 5 minutes to spare, but we're going to head out of here. We'll start with Narco. Narco, let them know where they can find you, what you have going on throughout the week.
Yeah, you can find me at NarcoCop on Twitter and my YouTube channel, NarcoCop MMA. I just have my Lambeau Place podcast, and it's 9 p.m. on Fridays.
Sounds good. Yeah, go check him out and go check out Narco's show. Maybe get you a Lambo eventually there. We have Eric as well. Eric putting out some content throughout the week. Let them know what you have going on and where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me. I'm Eric Best Fights on Twitter and on YouTube. I do a full card breakdown of each week, and then I also do kind of whatever other random stuff sort of pops into my head. I've been messing around with some storytelling and comedy videos. Something pops into my head that's MMA related, and I think it might be fun. I'll give it a shot. So keep an eye on what I what I come up with.
Sounds good. Go check him out. And then we have Uncle Weezy, everybody's favorite uncle. Uncle Weezy, let know where they can find you, what you have going on throughout the week.
Yeah, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Uncle Weezy. I do balls deep breakdowns of fights, and I do a full card breakdown every Tuesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time, called Just the Tip. And you can also find me on Pub Sports Radio every Sunday night for Stat Diggers. Are we moving it back now that football is over, Brady? Stat Diggers?
Well, they have the Pro Bowl this Sunday, right?
Oh, the Pro Bowl, that's going to be huge. Everybody watches that, man. We don't want to be up against that, right?
I'm not watching it, but yeah, I'm sure people would like to enjoy that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But it doesn't matter to me. I'm on Pub Sports Radio every Sunday night for Stat Diggers, every Tuesday night for the DFS show that we do. You can find me on Twitter at MMA Weezy. Thanks for spending this last hour before the fights with us, everybody. Let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks today.
Always nice talking through the card 1 hour prior to when they start. Can't wait. About 5 minutes till Denise Bonder goes out there and shaves Malcolm Gordon's ass. I cannot wait. I posted on Twitter. I said my hot take is that Bruce Buffer, he does those fist bumps with the fighters before the fight. I think that one's going to catch Malcolm Gordon. I think he's going to be highly compromised, if not completely knocked out after that. But you can find me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram at DFS by the numbers. Good luck to everybody. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Go check these guys out as well. They do great work, and we will talk to you soon. We'll be back next week, 1 hour prior to the prelims. I believe UFC 271 next week, so we've got a pay-per-view. See you guys. Good luck, and let's make some money.